Okay, Carl, welcome back to the pod.
Yes.
We got to talk last week, and this week we're going to know a little bit more about you.
Yeah.
You ready to go for part 2?
Let's go, Charlie.
Stories from the River, the Carl Hillesland episode, part 2. Here we go.
Let's roll.
Join Charlie Maloof as he explores the personal journeys of Broad River Retail's very own memory makers. Welcome to Stories from the River.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of industry and leadership topics. Now I want to get to know you a little bit more. We'll do a little quick pivot here.
Okay.
I've got a quick way to do that, a quick icebreaker.
Okay.
Get to know Carl Hillesland in just 3 words. So fast forward to you're in your retirement days. You're maybe sitting on the front porch drinking some iced tea or lemonade or beverage of choice, and you're thinking about how you want to be remembered, your legacy. What 3 words do you want people to say about you to describe you?
The first word I want is kind. The second word I would want is confident. And then right after that would be humble.
You like that paradox, don't you?
I love that paradox, Charlie, because the kind part is when Stacy called and offered me the job, I didn't understand the first sentence that came out of his mouth. It was actually really unusual. He said, "Carl, we're going to make you an offer because we think you're nice." And I was like, wait, is that good? Like, because I didn't have context for what he was saying at the time, but now I do. And what that means is that we love our people and we assume that they want to do it right all the time. And we believe that you're not going to hurt our people. And so that was the kind of thing.
Yeah.
The confidence thing is, Charlie, I just see the impossible as the normal thing to do. And I believe that leadership, we need that confidence in leadership. And it's not from a cocky or arrogant standpoint. It's really from a faith aspect of believing the impossible is the normal thing to do. And the humble part, man, I'm the first one to own it. I am, how does Gary Ridge say it? Consciously incompetent.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you had the paradox on confident and humble and not on kind.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We'll just stay in the kind.
There you go.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm glad it wasn't 4 words.
That's right.
And 2 paradoxes.
That would be terrible.
All right. Our organizational purpose is furnishing life's best memories. What does that statement mean to you?
Speaking of Gary Ridge and,
Former CEO of WD-40.
WD-40.
Yeah.
When we were up at the Purpose Summit, which is South Bend, and it was so amazing, South Bend, Indiana. You took a whole bunch of us as leaders, and we spent several days together sharpening the saw. And one thing that Gary Ridge presented on was a question that he asked his entire organization. And he said, "What does an A+ life look like for you?" And it wasn't, "Hey, here's an email template, here's a email survey, here's just write on a piece of paper, and we've got all these people that gave us their A+ life." It was a one-on-one conversation with his people that scaled throughout the organization. And it's something that impacted me because no one's ever dreamed of selling furniture or mattresses since they were in 2nd grade, right? There's a reason why. And here, I hope he doesn't mind me talking about it, but I got to talk about Matt Pitnaro right here. So Matty P, as I like to call him, he's our GM of our Pineville location, our largest store that we have. And when we started going through this exercise, he and Matt, you're going to have to forgive me. I know you will if you didn't want me to share this, but now it's going out in the world. But this guy, he said that one of his A+ life is having a date night every night with his wife.
Every night?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Every week.
Well,
I was so excited.
That's impressive. Yeah.
Good job, Matt. Right. So a date night every week with his wife, Sue. And what's so amazing is we have scorecards, and I was like, okay, so just one? And he goes, you know what? Yeah, I want to have 2. And so just 2 days ago, yesterday, I was in his store and I was asking, "Hey, how's that going?" And he gave me some feedback. It's going great, but there's got to be a little more intentionality there, right? But that's the beautiful thing is that's carrying our leadership, carrying action, or our carrying leadership in action is furnishing his life's best memories, understanding what their A+ life is, figuring out what that gap is from where they're at now to where they want to be, and what can we do personally and professionally to help them bridge that gap.
Okay, love it. Great answer. So you mentioned the Purpose Summit and University of Notre Dame.
Yes.
I feel like we're in your stomping grounds.
Yes,
Your
awesome.
people, and you knew everywhere to go and set us up with a great bus tour and ride and the dinner. And just take us about, other than what you learned about the A+ life from Gary Ridge, were there other key learnings or takeaways that you had from the Purpose Summit at the University of Notre Dame?
Yeah, anytime that, she's a great friend, but she's a phenomenal communicator. Dr. Amber Selking, she's got this book, Winning the Mental Game, and it's just a playbook, and it really takes the brain calories, if you will, out of the equation of understanding the science behind our brain and how we actually have control over how we process our thoughts and what we do with them. And that was something that was just so awesome to have our team exposed to. And that's something that will never get old because it's a constant rewiring. Another one was Jason Lippert. And if you're unfamiliar with Lippert, they're one of the world's largest RV component manufacturer, and I can't really speak to the specifics of the company, so I don't want to do that. But what impressed me about Jason as a multi-billion-dollar owner and CEO is that he had something called Dream Achievers, and it was very similar to this A+ life. And essentially, it's like they track how many people quit smoking, how many debts were paid, homes purchased, and all of these really cool things that I think all of us, took away, and we're like, okay, how do we get that into our organization? Mm-hmm. And so that's what we're working on right now. And so that those golden nuggets, finding the gold right there, that was, and by the way, that's one of my favorite phrases is find the gold. Mm-hmm. And hey, no better place to do that than at Notre Dame with the Golden Stadium, the Golden Dome.
Carl, I think you just gave us a podcast title.
Yeah.
Finding the Gold.
Finding the Gold. Let's do it.
Finding the Gold with Carl Hillesland. We are finding some gold today, baby. All right. So how do you how do you take those golden nuggets, or how do you take that knowledge and infuse a sense of purpose in your team and those who you lead in terms of helping them find purpose and fulfillment in their roles? Other than, you talked about the story with Maddie P, but how do you do that generally?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is you got to connect. And again, I said I'd talk about him a lot. And here's another thing I learned from Stacy is when I got to the company, Stacy said, Carl, here's what I want you to do for the first essentially 60 days. I want you to go meet the people, and I want you just to connect. I don't want you to give them any kind of direction. That's just go love, honor people. And there's one person in particular that you need to connect with the most. And I got the ticket of how to connect with her, and it's to take her to lunch, and that was Renee Bradley. Mm-hmm. And what Renee has taught me is, that phrase, people don't care how much you know.
Yes, I do.
Until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
I mean, is that not Renee, Charlie?
That's Renee.
It's like spot on. I mean, let's link to her podcast and this one too, right? Just link it to all the other ones.
Love it.
But one of the beautiful things, not the beautiful, but one of the beautiful things about Renee as a leader is that she has that ability to connect first. And in fact, she's not even going to talk to you about business. She's going to talk to you about your life. And it's really that A+ life is just a different way of looking at how Renee leads her team. And so I watched Renee connect, and that's what really unfolded a lot of my belief in our company. Is through how she connected with me.
Well, I remember that direction from Stacy for one, and it's so important. Like, hey, we're not in a fire; the wheels aren't broken. What's really important right now, since there's nothing super urgent, what's really important is go connecting with our people.
Yeah.
Before you go lead them. And then number two, Renee's been with us for over 10 years now, and I've known her for all these years, and she's a phenomenal leader. I've seen her growth, had a front row seat to her career trajectory with us. But she was in the Purpose Activation Committee, so we get to be very close when we were doing our readings and sharings, and so she's a very special leader for us. And nurturing is really important to her. That empathetic servant leadership is very important to her. So that's some great takeaways. Okay, I know that it always takes a village to achieve phenomenal success. Who are some of the unsung heroes, colleagues of your world? And tell us what they do or have done that help you or have helped you.
The first unsung hero I have is my wife, Lindsay. And Lindsay is the individual that's helped me understand how important empathy is and how important connecting first is. My wife is way cooler than I am, Charlie. Like, you would totally have a two-parter on this podcast if she was here. But she outshines the best, and she's often one of the most underrated individuals in the room because she never seeks the attention. She never seeks the limelight. She's never the first one to go up, but she's always the one looking for the one that's overlooked. And that has taught me a lot about leadership and just as being a husband, as a leader, and as a best friend. Another unsung hero, I mean, listen, like all of our multi-unit leaders, the SRL, Senior Retail Leadership Group, right? Chris Barrier, Chris Wright, we've talked about Renee a little bit, Chris Levenberg, Rick Rush, and then we talk about our senior GMs, right? With Sam Van Giesen, Josh Stanley, David Walters, Jason Willis. Like, we have the best core team of people that oftentimes they're never going to look for the limelight. They're always going to find ways to get their team acknowledged and promoted and recognized. And then I gotta, let's talk about our GMs. I'm not gonna name all of our GMs. And in that same thing, let's talk about our sales managers. Our folks that drive the day-to-day business and do what they do in partnership with our REMs. It's such an amazing ecosystem that we have set up that we can have each other's backs, including the visual team. And it creates this ecosystem in our economy that other people can thrive. And I would say this, last but not least, Edie Changrati.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
She's great.
She is phenomenal. Edie is our analyst, and she has this uncanny ability to see behind corners or around corners and get us the things that need to happen before we're even aware that it's an issue. And so I'm so thankful for Edie being on our team as well.
Awesome.
And I gotta tell you, another one of the unsung heroes are our HFCs. That's our home first. It's our memory maker, our sales population. And because at the very tip of the spear, front lines, as every single day, they get to make that decision as that guest comes in to connect with them, to find the commonality between the two, and to paint the picture of what furnishing life's best memories looks like for them. I mean, I think you said by the time this airs, it's going to be after Black Friday. Well, guess what? The number one holiday in our business, right? Everyone that, a week or two ago just finished being around a table, whole bunch of food, whole bunch of family. And it's really, think about it like this, think about back to some of the best life memories that you do have. And when I think about that, I think about holidays. I think about, being together with the family, and there's always furniture in the memory. And this is something that, what does that table represent for them? What is that sofa? What is that going to do for the family when they come together? And our HFC population are the unsung heroes too, when it comes to that, because they're able to take that vision down to the ground and create a reality for all of our guests.
Well, you're naming everyone. May as well name ops and REMs.
Yeah, listen, we can't stop. Let's go.
We can't do a 10-parter. So we're going. That's a great answer. I love it, Carl. What advice would you offer up to a fellow memory maker to help him or her thrive?
One of those things is that they need to answer for themselves the same question that we ask ourselves in our organization. What does an A+ life look like for them? Because, in new retail classes, I actually asked this question, and it's very interesting because most people have never heard that question, have ever even thought about that, and they're probably just thinking about, what did we get them for lunch, right? And to be able to take a moment in history and pause and stretch that out over the rest of their life and say, hey, what does that look like? And how can we connect with them either personally or professionally to help them achieve that? That's something that really, to me, speaks to how human our company really is. We care about the whole person.
Yeah. I think that could be either a subtitle or an alternate title, Designing an A+ Life with Carl Hillesland.
That'd be awesome.
That's great. What's some of the best advice you've ever received, Carl?
I would say this. The first thing that pops in my mind here is actually, it's a quote, okay? So a hard head makes a soft behind.
Okay, what does that mean?
So what that means is that if I am doing something the way I want to do all the time, most likely I'm going to find that it's not producing the fruit that I want in my life, and it's going to show up as pain somewhere. And so I can either, submit to the pain, or submit to the growth. And by the way, both can be painful, and we're going to be overwhelmed in life, but we might as well be overwhelmed by the goodness that God can bring into our life if we submit to him and learn from him how we can do things better.
Okay. Well, is that it? What other advice?
I think that everything rises and falls on leadership. I say it a lot, and I mean it.
Okay.
Because everything truly does. I mean, think about it. How we lead ourselves well. Like if we're not happy with where we're...
So important.
Yeah. If we're not happy with where we're at, how we look, how we feel, how we think, whatever that is, then who has the power to change that?
Okay.
We do. And if we're leading other people... John Maxwell talks about the law of the lid, where, and essentially what it means is that we can only lead people to as far to places where we've gone ourselves. And so if our growth has stopped, well, people are going to start coming up, right?
Yeah.
And start pushing us. And then essentially for them, their growth will be stagnant because where we're at as leaders individually are not allowing for them to grow even further.
Yeah, so be a lifelong learner. We can link to the law of the lid. And there's a new book coming out called Live Life in Crescendo.
Yes.
Which speaks to being a lifelong learner. It was like the final work of Stephen R. Covey.
Yeah.
And it's his daughter, I think it's his daughter who's finishing that.
We're gonna have to grab that.
Yeah.
And can I give one more?
You sure can.
Okay, so
this is your episode.
Thank you. One thing, I might have even mentioned it already, but Coach Stacy McCormick taught me this. He goes, Carl, assume people want to do it right. And when you walk into any kind of situation, that to me is another way of saying find the gold. But it actually, what we do, we find the gold, but how we do it is we assume the person that we're talking to wants to do it right.
That's great advice.
Yep.
So you've had a first row seat to some great development this year. Whose development are you really proud of from the retail performance leadership team?
I'm really proud of Chris Wright. Yeah. Chris is a multi-unit leader for us. So he runs 6 stores in our West region. The name of his region is the Wild West, so he's the sheriff. And Chris has had a phenomenal career. In fact, this is a guy that started in a back room, loading trucks, and started seeing the commissions that these sales folks were making, and began this long career for him, very, very successful. And his leadership style is such that he has this commanding respect and presence about him, where he's the kind of guy that you want to build a great company off of. He's the cornerstone. He's a standard bearer. And when he speaks, people listen because he unlike me, doesn't use a lot of words, but he's very precise and very intentional in the meaning. And so I'm super proud of him because I saw him come to our organization. He was a GM when I first got here, got promoted to a multi-unit leader and took over a region that was in flames. It was just, there was a lot of opportunities. And essentially his first several months, he was a GM of one of our stores while having the responsibility of the region, and was able to grow, scale, and develop himself. To the last 3 months, he's been our top multi-unit leader in the entire company.
He's done a great job.
He's done a phenomenal job. Can I say one more?
You sure can.
Chris Barrier. Okay, this guy. All right. So he's been on the pod, and I gotta tell you, this guy is so impressive to me. So I think the Energizer Bunny, whoever made that, met Chris Barrier first before they created the content of that campaign.
What's so funny about that is I'm assuming some people would have called you the Energizer Bunny. That's funny that you see that in him.
Yeah.
It sounds like I need to get Chris Wright on the podcast as well.
Chris Wright, I'm going to tell you something. That guy it would be a phenomenon. People will get an incredible taste of how Broad River really is. And by the way, about Chris Barrier real quick. This guy is a guy that I've seen grown in front of the room. So, his presence that he gives, he now hosts one of our most important calls, a call that probably costs $5,000 to $8,000 every single week on a Saturday morning with all of our sales managers, and teaching and training them on the power of sleep.
Yeah, I'm on those calls.
It's so amazing.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. Goal setting. How important is goal setting, in your opinion, to achieving premier retail performance?
It's crucial, and we just experienced an amazing goal setting process. So what Mr. Mo does is it allows all of us as senior retail leadership to get in the room every 90 days, take a look in the rearview mirror and say, hey, what worked? what didn't work, and we actually give ourselves a grade. Okay, A, B, C, D, and we actually rate ourselves that grade based upon how our completion of our rocks, and all that a rock is just the big, hairy, audacious goal, right?
Yeah.
A BHAG, BTAG, you know, all that kind of good stuff. And you know, what we are learning in this process as we go from quarter to quarter is we're actually getting better at predicting both short and long term. And so the importance of setting goals is such that we don't have these numbers that are so high, because we experienced this actually last quarter. We are super aggressive. We're retail performance, Charlie. Like, we go and get it. And so we set these goals that are strong and aggressive, and we feel our SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. But we also have probably a little bit bigger appetites than what we want. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. And so this last quarter, we realized we actually didn't hit any of our 3 rocks, but we had the record setting quarter for the entire company in the history of the company. And so there was this dichotomy between like amazing record breaking performances, but we didn't hit the things that we said we were going to go hit. And so what did we do? We doubled down on it, and we're focused again on those same 3 priorities. And we believe that our strategy this quarter is one that we're tracking the lead measures, the actual behaviors that our HFCs do and our managers help get accomplished. And that's going to give our guests every single thing, the opportunity to say yes to every single thing that we offer. And that's the power of goals, because once you set them, it's not just setting them, it's getting it followed by all, and tracking the right data, addressing issues as they come up, and solving them at the root level of that organization and that issue. And that's what creates traction. And I really believe, Charlie, this will be our best quarter we've ever seen yet.
So you're not changing the goals, you're changing how you go about to unpack the goals. The goals are the mark, and then what are the standards that have to change to go get the goals?
We didn't change the what or why, but we reassess the how we're going to go get it done.
Love it. And you mentioned the SMART framework. Have you heard of the 3M framework?
Tell me about it.
Measurable, meaningful, maintainable.
I have heard that.
From Mark Batterson?
Yes. Yeah. I've fallen in the camp of SMART, but maybe we should look at the 3M, because it's less words or less letters.
They go to the same direction.
That's right.
What are some of your personal goals here? This will air in December. What are some of your personal goals for the rest of this year?
Well, since this airs in December, I've got one of my first races coming up. And man, I've been training intensely for the turkey trot.
Yeah, are you ready for it?
Turkey. I'm ready. And but you know, I hope my wife signed us up for the 5K, not the 5 mile. I'm just gonna throw that out there, Lindsay. I don't know where we're at on that one, but you know, we'll find out by the time this thing airs. But
you'll crush it.
We'll crush it. We'll
just keep those legs moving.
That's right. Just one step after the other.
As you prepare for 2023 and improving upon what will prove to be a successful 2022.
Yeah.
Have you begun thinking about what will be some of your personal goals for next year?
Yeah, I really have. So one of the beautiful things about this transition of moving across the country, right? Well, I don't know if it's across the country, but it's several states away from Indiana, right? And by the way, I just got to say this. Indiana, 67 days of sun a year, right? Valparaiso, Indiana. Charlotte, 212. I mean, like, I'm on the slow boat, okay? So we needed to get here sooner. Okay. But we love the weather here. But when we moved, Lindsay was 6 months pregnant. And so all of our friends, all of our family, our entire 13-year marriage was up in Northwest Indiana, and we moved down here where we had very little connection with anybody. And so Judah came along, Judah Hillesland, and he was our miracle baby. And one of my professional goals is understanding and charting the path of designing, having my A+ life is being the best dad I could ever be. Because, you know, unfortunately, my dad did the best he could, wasn't really part of my life. But I can see how awesome my dad really was based upon how I see in the triplets, right? In Frank, Glenn, and Jackie. And so I want to parlay that into my life and really take that to the next level. So personally, that's what a thriving dad and a husband looks like. And Stacy gave me this great advice too, is that every day I come home, I offer to take Judah. right? And so as a new dad, first time around, give my wife that break.
Yeah.
And so I am putting this on air and committing, right? So that everyone in the universe can hold me accountable. That every day I come home, what is that one thing I can do for Lindsay just to be special so that she can have that break that she needs?
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm sure she'll appreciate that. You're welcome, Lindsay. We have it documented. So going into 2023, there's a lot of talk right now about a recession of some sort, as well as like thousands of layoffs we're seeing from like, especially in the tech sector, Twitter, Facebook, Amazon, and we continue reading about them in the news. How will you combat these headwinds for your team?
There's a resiliency factor, right? That's actually a word of this quarter is resiliency. And it's that ability to start again and to get back up and to keep going. And with the chassis that we run on called Mr. Mo, what ends up happening is we're focused. Recession does not change the fundamentals of what we do. People come into our stores. In fact, they're not surprised when they walk in and they don't see an oil change place, right? They know that we have furniture. A lot of them don't know we have mattresses, by the way. We have incredible sleep systems, and I got to tell you guys, it's amazing.
He's selling.
But, people aren't surprised at where they're at. So our job is to actually play the plays, and that's to connect with the people, and it's to be persistent in what we do, which means it's good for the guests, it's good for our sales team, and it's good for the company. And I really believe that no matter what pressures come from the outside, it's kind of like a submarine where they're able to dive deep because the inside or an airplane, right? There's an internal pressurization there, and that it's going to be balanced to where we're going to actually get through this and become stronger, even more stronger than where we're even currently at.
So control the controllables and continue to improve them.
That's right.
One day at a time.
Yep.
Yeah, got it. Love it. So how do you sharpen your saw today? Like, what are you working on this year in terms of your own learning and professional development or personal development?
Yeah. Well, I think everyone, maybe not everyone, but I think people think, or everyone thinks they're a legend in their own mind, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think I've got some pretty great ideas. And then I got a great partner like Stacy that I can blast those ideas and he can shoot a whole bunch of holes in them, right? But that personal growth of being here at the river, Charlie, and having a leader like Stacy where he's way beyond me, both in wisdom and experience, that I can actually streamline behind. I'm growing faster as a leader and as an individual because I get to serve underneath him. And to me, having that proximity and drawing even closer in what I think is my best ideas, and maybe in a sentence or two or a word, he can unravel it, right? And that's not with everything. He's a great encourager as well. But that's something that is to me, I feel like I'm one of the most richest people in the world because I have someone that I can lean from that both personally and professionally. And that's why it was so important to me. Like, he's married. He's got he's given me some great marriage advice and being a dad advice and on all those kind of things. That kind of stuff's so important.
Awesome. I know we're biased, but we believe that our culture at the river is unique and really special. How proud were you that we had last year 5 of the top 20 stores in America ranked and recognized as best furniture store in America, and that this year we were just recognized again as one of the top 10 best places to work in America for the entire furniture industry by Furniture Today?
Yeah, what's the most amazing thing about that? It's not some random poll. It's literally our people's voice. Like, there's an email sent out to every single one of our folks. It's their answer that voted them in that spot. That's what's so amazing. That's what people need to understand about that survey, is because it's true and it's genuine and authentic. Listen, we've got our opportunities. Nobody's perfect.
Right.
But the cool thing is in this environment, we're doing everything we can from a place of prosperity, not desperation, to improve the human experience at our company. And we have so many amazing departments that help with that, with MMX. I mean, listen, like I feel honored to be on the podcast, but all the folks that have gone before, that have been on the pod first, like they're the ones that laid the foundation. I've only been here 16 months. I mean, Broad River's been around for 19 years, right? And before that, you guys did such a people first culture. Stacy comes with this amazing sales process that's people first, and now we can scale it. That's what's so amazing about those stats, and our people are continuing rather to acknowledge and state that publicly. It's amazing.
So what's your favorite thing about our culture here at the River? And in your opinion, what is it that makes our culture special?
Yeah. Well, the amount the amount of people that, want others to be recognized and celebrated without prompting people to do so is astounding. Like I was sitting in a meeting yesterday, and my inbox just starts exploding with something called Project Premier, and it's our leaders that are on calls. And Project Premier is anyone in the company can get recognized for something awesome that they did. And all of a sudden, and you just tag anybody that's associated with that individual because we want to, high five them. And this happens almost on a regular daily basis where we're recognizing and rewarding people without even asking others to do so.
That's awesome. What is something that happens here at the River that doesn't happen at other companies?
I don't know if it's not at any other companies, but I know something that we do really the best that we know how, and I feel it's done really well, is we try and care for the individual and treat them as an individual, not as a group, not as an entity, not as anything other than what's the best thing for that person and how can we come alongside them.
Okay. And how important is our community outreach program to our culture, in your opinion?
Yeah, community outreach is extremely important to me. I grew up in a single parent home. My mom is amazing. Okay. She's actually flying in today as we're recording this. And I cannot wait to spend this whole week. She's gonna be at the home and home cooked meals, and you know how that goes, right?
Home for Thanksgiving.
Home for Thanksgiving. So, but my mom was a middle school art teacher in an inner city. Okay. And so I saw, and so it's not like we were loaded beyond measure growing up, right? With money and all this kind of good stuff. So we had, pretty humble beginnings. But one thing that we do is less than a mile from every single one of our store locations here at Broad River, there are children that are sleeping on the ground without a mattress. And those humble beginnings for me really lay the foundation of I can do something about that now. And a portion of every single one of our sales goes to one of our nonprofits called Hope to Dream, which gives beds to kids that are sleeping on the floor in our local areas. And that's something that I love that we do really, really, really well. And that's what also drives my passion and fuel for sleep.
That's awesome.
Because of that philanthropic giving.
So Carl, what is something about you that would surprise your fellow memory makers?
I would say when I was, one, I play guitar. Okay. So I play guitar. And I love to play chess. In fact, when I was in middle school, I was on a state chess champion team, and we did pretty well. But those are two like random facts that I'm not sure how many people at the River know.
Do you still play chess?
Yeah.
Regularly?
No.
Okay. I want to challenge you to a chess match.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. I can't
Let's
wait.
do it.
It's going to be fun. I used to play as a kid. I really don't play that much, but I have played with my son.
Yeah.
I like to do the four move.
The queen and four. Yeah. I gotcha.
But they get frustrated with me. So where does your energy, enthusiasm, and positive outlook on life come from?
Yeah, this is more of a faith-based answer, but I'll tell you this: it's absolutely true. When I was 16, I had a encounter with God that totally changed who I was. Growing up without a dad, I didn't really know who I was as a young man, and having that encounter with God, what ended up happening is it washed away all the lies I was believing about myself. And it was easier to know and understand who I was created to be. And from that moment, that created that foundation where I could thrive because I had unbelievable mentors and leaders in my life. And that optimism really comes from the fact that, listen, it's all good. And if it's not good, it's not the end. So I find the gold because here's the deal. Where's the gold located? It's in the dirt. Like, people are messy, but the thing is that we've got to get in the trenches with them and uncover how awesome they are, because I fundamentally believe, Charlie, that people are doing better than they think they are. And most people just need a little bit of an encouragement, and off they go again.
That's a Carl-ism. Where's the gold located? It's in the dirt. We got to get in the trenches with them.
Let's go.
That's a good one. Well, so you mentioned faith. How does faith influence your work?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. To me, to me, there's two questions that I ask in almost every situation. And when a situation comes up, the first question I just ask, it's essentially a prayer, but I just ask and get a sense is, God, what do you want me to know about this situation? And when I get that sense, I say, okay, what do you want me to do about it? See, I believe that we all have those giftings, right? Leaders are either born or made or nurtured, nature, nurture. And I want to be a good steward of the things that I've been given. And one of my favorite stories comes from the Bible, where there is parable of the talents, where the rich, there's a wealthy person who gave a year's worth of wage to one person, 3 years of wages to another person, and 5 years of wages to another person. And that ruler went away and came back and wanted a return on his money. And he set that expectation at the front. Well, the 5 turned it into another 5, which is awesome, right? The 3 turned it into another 3, and the 1 just buried it and kind of squandered the opportunity. And for me, when I look at that story, I see 2 principles. And the first one is, all of them were faithful with what they were given. And I think all of us, we're great, nice people, all that kind of good stuff, but not all of them multiplied the gifts that they were given. And so that's where I really have this sense of calling of, am I multiplying the things that I've been given to be taken care of? Okay. And is it not about me, or is it about them? I want them to be the hero. I can be a guide, but in the most humble way possible.
So you're looking at, and Maxwell does talk about this, you're looking at multiplication.
That's right.
Amplification.
That's right.
High leverage activities and self-reflection to figure out how you can go not from 1 to 1, but 10x, 1 to 10.
That's right.
1 times effort, 10 times results. And then 10 to 100 and 100 to 1,000, et cetera.
The compound effect.
Don't get me started on the power of compounding. But I love how you tied the math of that exponentiality to faith and to your work. Okay. Coming down the final stretch
Let's
here,
go.
Carl.
Let's do it.
Just a few more questions. If you could change one thing about the company today with the wave of a magic wand, what would it be?
Well, I think, and this is something that we've done an incredible job of, but home delivery and getting our guests that final mile at 100%, which, by the way, no one in the industry is at, right? And it's this thing that if I could wave a magic wand and have a final mile guest experience perfect for everyone, that would be it. But here's I want to say this with that. We have the best team that's solving that right now. And I'm so blessed to be on it. But that's one of those things that if we could solve it, man, we'll think about everything else gets better.
Love it. So let's say that I decided to retire and I gave you the keys to the company. You're the new president and CEO of Broad River Retail. And guess what? Today's your first day, your day one in the new role. What would be your first order of business?
Yeah, well, first order of business is I got to get a pulse on where everyone's at. And because I have not been at that level of organization before, I'd want to have what I call listening sessions, where I meet with all my new direct reports and these teams, and understand what are we doing well in that current position? What do we need to be doing better? Where are those opportunities? And then bring that team through an exercise of keep killing and combining, essentially the Eisenhower matrix, right? Of prioritization of the things that we have to work on first, create that roadmap. But here's what's cool. What I know is also the roadmap for 2023, we're pretty much baked at this point. So I got a whole year playbook at this point that I can run on.
You got time.
I got some time. But so we execute that playbook, but then we understand what are the other opportunities that we have, and we go solve those at the root level of the organization for the greater good of the company.
I mean, the things at this level are, the reason you can't just coast is because you're making the decisions made today are 3, 4, 5 years out. They just have a longer runway than some of the decisions, and that's kind of part of it. But that's a great answer. I love the listening sessions and the Eisenhower matrix. What is the Eisenhower matrix for folks who don't know?
Sure. So it's just a way of prioritizing the work that we have. So 4 quadrants. Top left is the ones that's most urgent and important. X-axis is urgent, Y-axis is important, and you overlay those two, and you take the tasks, your to-do task, and you put it in there. And I also take the next step and actually budget a time of how much time I think each one of those tasks is going to take, so I can try and calendar it, right? And so that I create margin in my life and get stuff done.
I'd love to see your calendar and what you're doing for personal and professional.
Yeah.
Okay, Carl, what are you currently watching or binge watching? And or what was the last show that you and your wife watched and really enjoyed?
Everybody Loves Raymond.
Everybody Loves Raymond. Love it.
That it's you'll find us. We end our day if we have. If
I know the answer to this.
Yeah, is on something happy, and so it's either The Office or something like Everybody Loves Raymond.
I ended up watching a couple Office episodes the other day, and it still puts me in a good mood.
It's fantastic.
To someone who is not a memory maker and is thinking of coming to the river, what advice would you offer to that person?
Yeah, be ready to answer the question if you're going to work in my organization of what does an A+ life look like for you. Because even if this is just a moment in time, we want people to be refreshed when they leave here.
That's right.
And so we want to bring them in and run that great experiment to where we put our people first, love on them, and maximize their experience here so they can grow and thrive wherever they're supposed to be planted, but expect to have conversations around what does an A+ life look like for you.
That's awesome. This has been fun. We've had 2 great episodes. Anything else you want to share, Carl, that you haven't shared?
It's just
we've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground. And I will say this, it is amazing to be in an organization where other people are finding ways for you personally to thrive. I have a whole entire team that makes me look really good because they're just phenomenal at what they do. Mm-hmm. And I'm so thankful to be here at the river, Charlie.
That's awesome. Before I let you off the hot seat, I asked some of your colleagues and fellow memory makers if they wanted to share a few words. Can I read them out?
Oh, okay. Absolutely. Sure.
First one I got from Kate Ross in Talent Acquisition.
Kate's awesome.
What can I say about Carl? He truly is the personification of what Broad River Retail stands for to his very core. In all the time I have known him, he has never once appeared to be in a bad mood. And if I could bottle his natural energy, I would make a fortune. The fact he doesn't drink coffee, little known fact, is a true enigma. I will always be appreciative of his teamwork and collaboration, truly thankful for all I am able to learn from him and his passion he brings to work every single day.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kate. Unbelievable. She's amazing.
Well, let me keep going. Hold your applause.
Oh, gosh.
From Will Luke.
Well,
Carl is culture personified. His heart is bigger than a tomahawk steak. And the way he cares about people and radiates positivity is contagious. In addition to this, Carl leads with structure and intentionality. Specifically, some of the methodologies he has championed, like Mr. Mo, Traction Tools, and the Eisenhower Matrix, have infused clarity to our retail teams and given them valuable tools on prioritization and time management. We are a better organization with Carl on the team, and I'm truly excited to continue learning from him and working with him on future projects. From Coach McCormick.
Come on.
When I think about Carl, the following words come to mind: positive, sincere, driven, vulnerable, collaborative, innovative, and intelligent. He is a sponge and is open to learning and being wrong to improve. His impact on Broad River Retail in such a short time is noticeable. When people speak to me about Carl, they all say similar things. He is positive, upbeat, genuine, consistent, and takes the time to connect and get to know each of us personally. However, his proudest accomplishment is being the husband of Lindsay and the father of Judah. I am thankful to know Carl and have him here at the river. From Renee Bradley.
Jeez.
Carl, she's writing this to you, saying, thank you is not enough to express how grateful I am for the leadership, mentorship, and support you have shown me this year. Your constant encouragement, guidance, and advice has made me a better leader. You always say that everything rises and falls on leadership, and you have proven that to be true. The river performs at a higher level under your and Mr. Mo's leadership. I said it before, and I will say it again. Being led by you is like running downhill fast. Not with scissors, just running downhill fast. Your legs take over and there's a fear of falling, but it is fun and exhilarating. No matter what, the outcome always includes joy, pride, and confidence to do it again, even faster.
Let's go.
Edie.
Yeah.
Sangrati. I hope I said that correctly.
Chungrati.
Chungrati.
You got it.
Edie's amazing. I remember the first time when I met with Carl. He walked in the Pineville store with his big, confident smile on his face and started conversation immediately with everybody. He was so energetic and bouncy. I remember I was thinking, who is this guy? Since then, I know he is a brilliant leader who always seeks for better solutions. He has an exploding energy every single day, and his enthusiasm is so contagious that makes our department and our company more successful. From Anita Harris, Carl is one of the most positive people I have ever met. There's no way you can have a bad day around Carl. His fun and loving personality is infectious. He is a complete joy to be around. And finally, from Manny, Carl brings positive energy every day. What a gift to all our memory makers and our customers. His intentionality with innovative concepts and sales strategy continues to drive premier results in his areas of influence. I admire his empathy and ability to connect with his teams, and I'm grateful that he is on the Broad River team/family. Carl,
What an honor.
That's it, man. You did it. You accomplished the podcast. Put this one in your playlist.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, thanks for dialing in and logging in here, subscribing to Stories from the River. We bring you fresh new content every Wednesday from the river, every Wednesday morning, so that you don't miss an episode. Please mash that subscribe button, whether you're watching on YouTube or whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or Google. And hey, if you liked it, like what you heard here, if you learned something new, like that button, share a comment, and let us know how we can improve and get better. We love your comments and your feedback. Thank you guys so much. And Carl, thanks so much. I
Thanks,
appreciate
Charlie.
you.
Such an honor.
Merry Christmas, guys.
See ya.
Happy holidays.